very civil, Father Hennessy is. I wonder, was he with the Jesuits before? A touch of an English accent, but sure we won't hold that against him. Educated, you know, but not snobby. Doing great things for the parish. He's a picture of the new Pope on the wall in between JFK and the Sacred Heart. "Come in and have a seat, Mrs. O'Shea," he says, and he pulls out a chair for me. "Oh, thank you, Father," says I. And I'll tell you now, I'm glad there was a cushion on it because I was there for an hour after. "Will you join me in a cup of tea? You will. Miss Tierney, another cup please for Mrs. O'Shea." Facing Al Tierney behind his back, I nearly broke out laughing. Sure, she's a dry old shtick all the same. Already an old maid back when I was just a girl myself, coming in to make my own first communion. "Now, what's on your mind, Mrs. O'Shea?" says he, after she's plonked down the cup and slammed the door after her. "It's a delicate matter, Father," says I. "I see. A family matter, perhaps?" "No." "Well, yes, in a way it is. Oh, I don't know where to start. It's very embarrassing, to be honest. And it is. Let me tell you, I can hardly even talk about it to my Jimmy without going puce from the tips of my toes to the top of my head. It's Jimmy that should be here really, talking man to man, but he just laughed at me. I look around at the pictures of Our Lady and the Sacred Heart on the wall. Give me guidance, please. Father Hennessy waits a couple of minutes and then coughs. "Now, come on, Mrs. O'Shea. I've heard a lot in confession over the years. There isn't much that can shock me now at my stage of life. Just start at the beginning." "Well, it started with my Deirdre. She made her communion on Saturday. Ah, lovely day, wasn't it? It was, Father. And she'd been on at me for months to go up to Dublin, to the zoo. Not on the day itself, of course, we'd other relations to visit. Deirdre was pretty as a picture. A lovely pearly headdress and a veil, and I made her dress myself. Well, I got my sister to help her with the smocking stitch. Dee's the only girl, you see, so I wanted it to be just right for her." "So the zoo?" "Yes, Father, and I didn't want to disappoint her. Dee's the only girl, you see, and she's very good at home. 4 brothers, and they all charging around day and night, up and down the stairs, breaking her things with their carrying on." "You had other plans?" "Not at all. Sure, usually I'd love a day out with Dee, just the 2 of us. But I was worried about Riley. I'd heard all about him." "Riley?" "I'd heard the stories from my sister-in-law up there in Crumlin." I could feel myself beginning to go red. To be talking about that sort of thing with a priest. Why did I not just put my foot down and take Dee to the pictures instead and had none of this trouble? But why should we? Why should the likes of Riley be able to ruin things for Dee and all the other girls? Why should he get away with it? No, someone has to make a stand. Where would we be if no one had made a stand in this country in 1916, And in this day and age, women have a right to go about their business without the likes of Riley ruining things for them, without the likes of that sort of thing." "What kind of stories?" said Father Hennessy, holding out a plate of biscuits to me. Pink wafers and Garibaldis. I shook my head. "About his behaviour. Did he really need me to spell it out for him? Surely to God I can't be the first mother to have complained about it. Maybe I am. Maybe all the other mothers were happy to be bought off with a free 99 and a go on the little train around Pet's Corner." Father Hennessy just sat there, waiting. He picked up a Garibaldi. I felt the eyes of the Sacred Heart on me. "He only does it when there's girls around, or women." He put the biscuit down, wiped his hands on a little napkin, proper gent. "Mrs. O'Shea, do you have a sister?" "A sister, Father? Yes, I have 3 each, sisters and brothers, but Marie's the one I'm closest to." "Well, just close your eyes and pretend you're telling this to her, to Marie." Dee was looking at the lemurs swinging around, laughing her head off, when I caught sight of him over there in the far corner, trying to look innocent, eating an apple, sticking his tongue out at me. I grabbed Dee and started to walk away. Too late. He comes galloping over, brazen as anything, his PENIS in his hand. Dee stopped dead in her tracks in front of him. "Mammy," she said, "what's he doing?" "Nothing, Dee. Come on, which way to the penguins?" Riley was really going for it now, pulling away, slobbering and grunting. Dee rooted to the spot, people beginning to look over. "But why is he doing that to his Willie?" "Come on, Dee, I'm not telling you again." I tried to drag her away, but just like that, the sleeve on her communion dress ripped off and she started crying, and the crowd didn't know which way to look, at Riley playing with himself or Dee bawling, or my face, which was as red as a tomato by now. I opened my eyes. Father Hennessy's eyes were out in stalks. "And you say this has happened before, Mrs. O'Shea?" "My sister-in-law says it's a well-known secret all over Dublin. My poor Dee, scarred for life. I can't believe the management have let it go on so long." "I thought you could do something about it. Take it up with the bishop, maybe."
"Well, if it comes to that, I most certainly will. You've been very courageous in coming forward. But first, let me get a few details. How long has he worked here, do you know?"
"I'm not with you, Father."
"This man, Riley, how long has he worked at the zoo, do you know?"
"Riley doesn't work, Father."
"No?"
"Riley's not a man, Father. Riley's a chimpanzee." I have to tell you now, Father Hennessy took the name of the Lord in vain. A few times, in fact. But since he's so nice normally, I pretended not to notice.
"I don't know what we can do about a chimpanzee, Mrs. O'Shea. I don't think chimpanzees come under our jurisdiction."
"But it's a sin, Father, as well as being disgusting."
"Chimpanzees don't have souls, Mrs. O'Shea. They can't commit sins."
"Well, he might not have a soul, but he definitely has a..."
"They're animals, just following their nature."
"Well, I suppose men are just following their nature. Do we have to put up with them too?"
"It's different, Mrs. O'Shea. We are not just animals. We are filled with God's grace."
Well, what could I say to that? I took 2 pink wafers and drank my tea. I don't know if he spoke to the bishop in the end, but I had a letter today from Dublin Zoo saying that Riley has been moved to an enclosure on his own away from the public view, enclosing 2 free tickets for the train around Pet's Corner.